Did you know in the books, Roose is brutal to Ramsay? Where everyone in the north is afraid of Ramsay, Roose just humiliates him to his face without even batting an eye. Roose demands Theon, but Ramsay tries to deny him, and Roose says, "All you have, I gave you. You would do well to remember that, bastard. Before you make me rue the day I raped your mother." All Ramsay can do is twitch his lips and hand Theon over. Roose then tells Theon that while hunting, he murdered Ramsay's mother's husband and took her while her husband was swaying above them, but looks back on the day with more annoyance than anything else, since the fox got away and his horse came up lame, calling it a pretty dreadful day. And the reader suddenly realizes that Roose is just a different kind of evil to Ramsay. After Roose forced himself on Ramsay's peasant mother and killed her legal husband, she arrived at the castle years later, claiming she needed help in raising Ramsay. Roose planned to kill the child, until he saw that they had the same eyes. He gave Ramsay a servant called Reek, which was meant as a cruel jest. But Ramsay and Reek grew inseparable. Roose would later reflect on whether Ramsay had corrupted Reek or whether Reek had corrupted Ramsay. Reek would actually die saving Ramsay, which is quite sad. Despite Bruce's instructions to Ramsay's mother, either she or Reek informed him of his true parentage and urged Ramsay to become Roose's heir. In 297 AC, soon after a sickness, Roose believes his heir had been poisoned by Ramsay, making Ramsay a kinslayer, but Roose respects strength and cunning. Ramsay Bolton doesn't marry Sansa Stark, but instead Sansa's childhood friend, Jean Poole, who the Boltons are pretending is Arya Stark. On their wedding night, Ramsay forces Theon to cut off her clothes and perform lewd sex acts on her before Ramsay her. There are scars on her back from being whipped, and later bruises from Ramsay's abuse. After this, no one sees or hears from her in weeks, as Stannis marches on Winterfell to rescue her. However, Theon helps her escape, and during this escape, we discover that Ramsay forces Jean to perform sexual acts for his dogs. She is so traumatized, she is too afraid to be rescued, and says to Theon, "Tell him, you tell him, I'll do what he wants, or whatever he wants, with him, or with the dog, or please. He doesn't need to cut off my feet. I won't try to run away. Not ever. I'll give him sons. I swear it. I swear it." Before he endured the worst of Ramsay's tortures, Theon was allowed to escape with the help of Kyra, his former bedwarmer at Winterfell. However, Ramsay had actually allowed them to escape and gave them a day's head start before chasing them with his hunting hounds. Theon tried to convince Kyra that one of them could escape if they separated, but she was too scared to, and because of this, they were both captured and taken back to the Dreadfort's dungeon. While Kyra was killed by Ramsay and his hounds, Theon is tortured further and tormented by Kyra's death. And saving Jean Poole, or Sansa Stark in the show, is his way of redeeming himself, and once again living as Theon Greyjoy. This hunting down women is one of Ramsay's favorite pastimes, and he has supposedly done this more than a dozen times, and names his hounds after the women who gave him a good chase. This includes Kyra. When Theon returns to Winterfell as Ramsay's creature, he no longer fears other people's laughter, and even such, as these made mock of Theon Turncloak. Let them laugh. Theon's pride had perished here in Winterfell. There was no place for such in the dungeons of the Dreadfort. When you have known the kiss of a flaying knife, a laugh loses all its power to hurt you. While the show is known for its and it pales in comparison to what really happened in the books. One such example involves Ramsay Bolton forcing Theon, now Reek, to perform on Jean Poole before Ramsay takes her himself, not Sansa Stark like they did in the TV show. And this is also probably why the show decided to change this, since audiences would not have wanted to see this happen to an underage Sansa Stark. This is what the book describes happening. Ramsay rose, the firelight shining on his face. "Reek, get over here. Get her ready for me." For a moment, Reek did not understand. Do you mean, my lord? I have no... With your mouth, Lord Ramsay said, and be quick about it. If she's not, by the time I'm done disrobing, I will cut off that tongue of yours and nail it to the wall. Ramsay Snow forcibly marries Donella Hornwood, but ends up locking her in a tower after their wedding, and not providing her with any food whatsoever. She is later found dead like so. They came too late for poor Lady Hornwood though. After their wedding, the bastard had locked her in a tower and neglected to feed her. Bran had heard men saying that when Sir Roderick had smashed down the door, he found her with her mouth all bloody and her fingers chewed off. Mance Rayder is not actually burnt to death. In the show, Mance is burnt alive by Stannis Baratheon and Melisandre at Castle Black. Mance is also burnt to death in the books. However, in this instance, it is actually the Lord of Bones. Melisandre glamoured Mance and the Lord of Bones to appear as the other, much to Jon Snow's shock. And so Mance is still alive, using the name Abel to rescue Arya, or Jean Poole, from Ramsay Bolton at Winterfell. Littlefinger ordered Mandon Moore to kill Tyrion. In the Battle of Blackwater, Mandon Moore tried to kill Tyrion, resulting in Tyrion losing his nose. In the end, Podrick saved Tyrion, and we're later led to believe that Joffrey gave the command, but it was obviously Littlefinger who told Mandon Moore to kill Tyrion. This is because Tyrion knew Littlefinger was behind the dagger that started the whole Stark-Lannister war. Next, Mandon Moore, like Littlefinger, came from the Vale and was appointed by Jon Arryn. But Jon Arryn didn't like him, which meant Lysa Arryn must have recommended him, and Lysa would only recommend someone if Littlefinger told her to do so. Meaning Littlefinger has tried to kill Tyrion twice, once at the Blackwater and the second time at the Purple Wedding. However, Joffrey ate Tyrion's poisoned pie, which saved Tyrion's life. When Walder Frey goes to the Dreadfort to get married to Roose Bolton, some portions of the Frey army go along with her. This is because they are expecting their eventual child to be heir to the Dreadfort. Meanwhile, at Ramsay's wedding with the fake Arya, he says an interesting line. Me, Ramsay of House Bolton, Lord of the Hornwood, heir to the Dreadfort, I claim her. By declaring himself the heir to the Dreadfort, one would imagine it caused some friction between the Boltons and the Freys. This might mean Ramsay was actually responsible for the death of the child Small Walder in A Dance with Dragons to force the Freys out of the castle to be killed by Stannis Baratheon. So after the battle, Ramsay can claim both Winterfell and the Dreadfort for himself. Is Roose Bolton immortal? It's a popular theory with readers, and while it sounds silly, there is some evidence for it. Roose likes to leech himself. There's frequent mention of Roose not aging, though past 40, was as yet unwrinkled, with scarce a line to tell the passage of time. There was an agelessness about him, a stillness. Also, why does Roose not kill Ramsay when, in the books, Ramsay is such a liability? Well, the initial reason why Roose didn't kill Ramsay as a babe is because they had the same eyes. Maybe Roose is planning to take Ramsay's face the same way Arya and faceless assassins do. The Dreadfort is pretty close to Braavos, so it's possible Roose may have traveled there and learned the secret. The Boltons are known for flaying skin, and Roose Bolton's face is described as a pale grey mask. Ramsay Bolton was actually in Winterfell posing as Reek when Theon Greyjoy took the castle. After previously abducting Lady Donella Hornwood, Ramsay and the real Reek were pursued by Roderick Castle's men. During a hunt, Ramsay and killed a woman, then disguised Reek as himself while he smeared himself with the woman's feces. He instructed Reek to ride to the Dreadfort, but Reek was killed by Roderick's men. When they returned to Winterfell, they mistook Ramsay for Reek and took him prisoner. He says they call him Reek. Can't think why, Theon said smiling. Do you always smell so bad? Or did you just finish pig? Haven't no one since they took me, my lord. Heek's me true name. I was in service to the bastard of the Dreadfort till the Starks gave him an arrow in the back for a wedding gift. Theon found that amusing. Who did he marry? The widow or Hornwood, my lord? That crone, was he blind? She has like empty wineskins, dry and withered. It wasn't her teats he wed her for, my lord. It was from there where Ramsay won Theon's favor by offering to serve him before eventually betraying him. How did Reek, who was Ramsay Bolton in disguise, trick Theon Greyjoy before eventually betraying him? With Arsha Greyjoy sparing Theon only 10 men to hold Winterfell, Ramsay offered him 200 men. "Well, might be I could help you," said Reek. "Give me a horse and a bag of coin and I could find you some good fellows." Theon narrowed his eyes. "How many?" 100, might be. 200, maybe more." He smiled, his pale eyes glinting. 200 men were not an army, but you didn't need thousands to hold a castle as strong as Winterfell. "Do as you say and you'll not find me ungrateful. You can name your own reward." Reek was gone before the sun went down, carrying a bag of Stark silver and the last of Theon's hopes. Like as not, I'll never see the wretch again, he thought bitterly. But even so, the chance had to be taken. Iwan Rheon originally auditioned to play Jon Snow, a role that ultimately went to Kit Harington. "It could have been so different," Rheon joked. Though he didn't land the part, his audition impressed producers enough to later cast him as Ramsay Bolton in Season 3. Looking back, Rheon agrees the right choice was made. "It would have been a very different Jon Snow if I'd played him. However, he did do a great job at being Ramsay Bolton." Jon Snow actually punched Ramsay Bolton in real life. During the Battle of the Bastards, fans cheered as Jon pummels Ramsay to the ground. But behind the scenes, Kit Harington got so into the moment that he accidentally landed 2 real punches on Iwan Rheon's face. Kit immediately apologized, horrified that he'd hit his co-star for real. "I had to buy him a pint after that one," he joked. Iwan, ever the good sport, laughed it off. "Jaw hurt a bit the next day, but it's understandable." The fight was tightly choreographed, but the intensity of Jon's rage and Kit's commitment made it easy to slip. Cameras even caught Kit breaking character mid-scene to check on Iwan, hugging him once the take ended. Fans love to joke that Kit simply did what everyone wanted, punch Ramsay Bolton for real. Honestly, no one seemed too mad about it. When Theon was tortured by Ramsay in Season 3. In the show, it's some of the most disturbing material in the series. Ramsay toys with Theon through twisted mind games, even pretending to free him, only to crush that hope with more cruelty. His infamous line, "If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention," sent chills down viewers' spines. Eventually, Ramsay castrates Theon off-screen, leaving him broken, humiliated, and transformed into Reek. But in the books, this is handled differently. In A Storm of Swords, most of Theon's torture happens off-page. Readers only see the aftermath. Ramsay's sadism is implied, not shown, and that gruesome scene where he sends Theon's severed manhood in a box to Balon Greyjoy, that's pure HBO invention, designed to underline just how monstrous Ramsay is. So, while the novels keep things in shadows, the show dragged us through every step of Theon's torment. Theon tries to warn Stannis to beware of Ramsay. Lord Ramsay will not be far behind them. He wants his bride back. He wants his Reek. Theon's laugh was half a titter, half a whimper. "Lord Ramsay is the one your grace should fear." Stannis bristled at that. "I defeated your uncle Victarion and his Iron Fleet off Fair Isle, the first time your father crowned himself. I held Storm's End against the power of the Reach for a year, and took Dragonstone from the Targaryens. I smashed Mance Rayder at the Wall, though he had 20 times my numbers. Tell me, Turncloak, what battles has the bastard of Bolton ever won that I should fear him?" "You must not call him that." A wave of pain washed over Theon Greyjoy. He closed his eyes and grimaced. When he opened them again, he said, "You do not know him. No more than he knows me." Theon tried to escape Ramsay with his bedwarmer Kyra, but this is what happened. He had run before, years ago it seemed, when he still had some strength in him, when he had still been defiant. That time it had been Kyra with the keys. They waited for the moon to go behind a cloud, then slipped from the castle and splashed across the weeping water. On the far side, he had kissed her. "You've saved us," he said. Fool, fool. It had all been a trap, a game, a jape. Lord Ramsay loved the chase and preferred to hunt two-legged prey. All night they ran, but as the sun came up, the sound of a distant horn came faintly through the trees, and a pack of hounds. "We should split up," he told Kyra, as the dogs drew closer. "They cannot track us both." The girl was crazed with fear though, and refused to leave his side, even when he swore that he would raise a host of Ironborn and come back for her if she should be the one they followed. Within the hour, they were taken. Ramsay Snow rode up with his huntsman. He was still a bastard then, not yet a Bolton. "There you are," he said, smiling down at them. "You wound me, wandering off like this. Have you grown tired of my hospitality so soon?" That was when Kyra seized a stone and threw it at his head. It missed by a good foot, and Ramsay smiled. "You must be punished." Reek remembered the desperate, frightened look in Kyra's eyes. She had never looked so young as she did in that moment. Still half a girl, but there was nothing he could do. She brought them down on us, he thought. If we had separated as I wanted, one of us might have gotten away. This is how Ramsay betrayed the Ironmen who surrendered at Moat Cailin. Theon is walking back from Moat Cailin towards Ramsay with the surrendered Ironborn in tow. Lord Ryswell's son says, "Is this all of them? I thought there would be more. We came at them 3 times, and 3 times they threw us back." "We are Ironborn," Theon thought, with a sudden flash of pride. And for half a heartbeat, he was a prince again. Lord Balon's son, the blood of Pike. Even thinking was dangerous though. He had to remember his name. Reek. My name is Reek. It rhymes with weak. Lord Ramsay's pale eyes shone when they reached him. "You must be starved, Daemon. Alan, see to them. Wine and ale and all the food that they can eat. Skinner, show their wounded to our maesters." "Aye, my lord." A few of the Ironborn muttered thanks before they shambled off towards the cookfires in the center of the camp. One of the cods even tried to kiss Lord Ramsay's ring, but the hounds drove him back before he could get close. But one of the dogs takes off a chunk of his ear. Even as the blood streamed down his neck, the man bobbed and bowed and praised Ramsay's mercy. When the last of them were gone, Ramsay Bolton turned his smile on Reek. He clasped him by the back of the head, pulled his face close, kissed him on the cheek, and whispered, "My old friend Reek, did they really take you for their prince? What bloody fools these Ironmen. The gods are laughing." Ramsay ends up killing them in the middle of the night while Theon is sleeping with the dogs. He hears the screams and goes back to bed. Ramsay was so hated that none of the other northern houses wanted to follow him. Lord Eddard's sons are dead, but his daughters live, and the younger girl is coming north to wed brave Ramsay Bolton. "Ramsay Snow," Wyler Manderley threw back. "Have it as you will, by any name. He shall be your lord of Winterfell." "He won't ever be my lord. He made Lady Hornwood marry him, then shut her in a dungeon and made her eat her fingers." A murmur of assent swept the merman's court. "The maid tells it true," declared a stocky man in white and purple. "Roose Bolton's cold and cunning, aye, but a man can deal with Roose. We've all known worse. But this bastard son of his, they say he's mad and cruel, a monster." "They say," Rhaegar Frey sported a sardonic smile. "His enemies say aye, but it was the young wolf who was the monster. More beast than boy, that one, puffed up with pride and bloodlust, and he was faithless, as my lord grandfather learned to his sorrow." He spread his hands. "I do not fault White Harbor for supporting him. My grandsire made the same grievous mistake. In all the young wolf's battles, White Harbor and the twins fought side by side beneath his banners. Robb Stark betrayed us all. He abandoned the north to the cruel mercies of the Ironman to carve out a fairer kingdom for himself along the Trident. Then he abandoned the River Lords, breaking his marriage pact with my grandfather to wed the first Western wench who caught his eye, the young wolf. He was a vile dog and died like one. The merman's court had grown still. Davos could feel the chill in the air. Lord Wyman was looking down at Rhaegar as if he were a roach in need of a hard heel. This was the life of Ramsay Bolton before A Game of Thrones. Ramsay is the product of Roose Bolton forcing himself on the miller's wife while hunting along the Weeping Water. He hung the miller under a tree for not informing his lord of the new marriage and made Ramsay beneath his swaying body. A year later, Ramsay's mother arrived at the Dreadfort with the newborn Ramsay. Roose nearly killed her and the babe, but when he saw the child had his eyes, the taboo of kinslaying stayed his hand. The women claimed her husband's brother stole the mill and cast her out. Angered by this, Roose had the man's tongue removed so he would spread no tales to Roose's liege lord, Rickard Stark, Lord of Winterfell. Roose then gave the woman the mill along with a pig, several chicks, and money every year on the condition that she never revealed to Ramsay the truth about who his father was. Ramsay's mother returned again years later, claiming she needed help in raising Ramsay, who grew up wild and unruly. Roose sent Ramsay a servant known as Reek. Reek, despite taking constant washes, always smelled bad due to some unknown birth condition that caused his skin to reek, thus his nickname. Giving him to Ramsay and his mother was actually a cruel jest by Roose, but Ramsay and Reek grew inseparable. Roose would later reflect on whether Ramsay had corrupted Reek or whether Reek had corrupted Ramsay, though Reek would follow Ramsay's orders quite faithfully. Ramsay mentioned once that Reek knew better than to deny him. Despite Roose's instruction to Ramsay's mother, either she or Reek eventually informed him of his true parentage. A year before the events of A Game of Thrones, Roose's heir, Domeric Bolton, attempted to forge a sibling connection with his younger half-brother Ramsay, despite Roose's order not to do so. Domeric soon died of a sickness of the bowels, although Roose believes his heir had been poisoned by Ramsay. Ramsay also earned the enmity of House Dustin, as Barbary Dustin, Lady of Barrowtown, was fond of her late nephew Domeric. Roose brought Ramsay to the Dreadfort as he had no other sons, trueborn or otherwise. Ramsay doubtless learned to read and write while there. Ramsay is accompanied by Dreadfort men called the Bastards Boys, such as Sour Allen, Luton, and Skinner. However, they are tasked by Roose with spying on Ramsay on behalf of Roose, who laughs at the thought that Ramsay thinks they are his men. After returning north, this is how Roose Bolton introduced his new wife and the fake Arya Stark to Ramsay and Theon. The Lord of the Dreadfort did not have a strong likeness to his bastard son. Though Roose had been in battles, he bore no scars. Though well past 40, he was as yet unwrinkled. There was an agelessness about him. On Roose Bolton's face, rage and joy looked much the same. Once, a boy called Theon Greyjoy had enjoyed tweaking Bolton as they sat at council with Robb Stark, mocking his soft voice and making japes about leeches. He must have been mad. This is no man to jape with. You had only to look at Bolton to know that he had more cruelty in his pinky toe than all the Freys combined. Father, Lord Ramsay knelt before his sire. Lord Roose studied him for a moment. You may rise. He turned to help two young women down from inside the wagon. The first was short and very fat. My new wife, Roose Bolton said. Lady Walder, this is my natural son. Kiss your stepmother's hand, Ramsay. He did. And I am sure you will recall the Lady Arya, your betrothed. The girl was slim and taller than he remembered, but that was only to be expected. Dark brown hair fell halfway down her back, and her eyes. That is not Lord Eddard's daughter. Arya had her father's eyes, the grey eyes of the Starks. A girl her age might let her hair grow long, add inches to her height, see her chest fill out, but she could not change the colour of her eyes. That's Sansa's little friend, the steward's girl. Jean, that was her name, Jean Poole. Lord Ramsay, the girl dipped down before him. That was wrong as well. The real Arya Stark would have spat into his face. I pray that I will make you a good wife and give you strong sons to follow after you. That you will, promised Ramsay, and soon. Arya was not Tywin Lannister's cupbearer, but Roose Bolton's. She would actually help bring him leeches that he would bathe in naked in front of Freys, while the seeds of the Red Wedding were being planted. Sadly, Arya was unaware of what Roose was planning and oblivious to the treachery brewing right under her nose. It is also in Roose Bolton's presence that she hears Winterfell has been sacked, and her brothers have been killed. After Roose leaves to eventually attend Robb Stark's wedding at the Twins, Arya asks to accompany Roose, but Lord Bolton is shocked by his servant's insolence and threatens to cut out her tongue, and Arya knows he would do it. Arya escapes with Gendry and Hot Pie, killing a Bolton guard at the gate, whereas in the show, they had Jaqen help them escape after Tywin left. The sentence, "A naked man has few secrets, but a flayed man's got none," is not said by Roose Bolton to Robb Stark, but is said by Ramsay to Theon, while the two of them hold Winterfell in a clash of kings. Roose is not with Robb in the Riverlands, but instead is commanding the Second Northern Army that Tywin defeated with Tyrion at the Green Fork, and he is the one to take Harrenhal, not Robb, like we saw in Season 3, Episode 1. Roose takes advantage of his position as commander of the Second Northern Army to kill all Northern soldiers more loyal to the Starks than Bolton's, to help plan the Red Wedding, and ultimately allow Jaime to go on his way to King's Landing after securing his position as Warden of the North after the Stark demise. Roose Bolton planned to betray House Stark from the very beginning, and here's why. Roose engaged with Tywin Lannister at the Battle of the Green Fork with 16,000 men to Tywin's 20,000. He deploys spearmen offensively and advances on the Lannister cavalry, which is not going to work since Robb has all the horses. So why didn't Roose find a hill to defend and let the Lannisters come to him? Well, if you look at how Roose deploys his army, you see that he put his overconfident commanders in front, as if to eliminate as many rivals as possible for his future ambitions in the north. When the Lannisters sprung the trap, he was able to retire with much of the Bolton army still intact, but left his fellow lords behind. So either Roose wins the battle and takes all the glory, or loses and eliminates his rival in the process. Roose Bolton gives Catelyn Stark a piece of Theon's skin delivered by Ramsay. The skin from the little finger of Theon Greyjoy's left hand. My son is cruel, I confess it. And yet, what is a little skin against the lives of two young princes? You were their mother, my lady. May I offer you this small token of revenge? Catelyn is happy deep down. Part of Catelyn wanted to clutch the grisly trophy to her heart, but she made herself resist. Put it away, please, she told Roose Bolton. Robb Stark was actually scared when Greatjon Umber threatened him. In the show, he shows no fear, whereas in the books, he later tells Bran he was scared Greatjon would kill him while looking pale and shaken. Gods, I was so scared, and the Greatjon's not the worst of them. Only the loudest. Lord Roose never says a word. He only looks at me, and all I can think of is that room they have in the Dreadfort, where the Boltons hang the skins of their enemies. Robb is only 15 here, and he was right about Roose. Jaime insulted Roose Bolton the moment they met. Can this be the Lord of the Dreadfort? When last I heard, my father had sent you scampering off with your tail between your legs. When did you stop running, my lord? Bolton's silence was 100 times more threatening than Vargo Hoat's slobbering. Pale as morning mist, his eyes concealed more than they told. You have lost a hand, he said at last. No, Jaime said. I have it here, hanging around my neck. Roose Bolton reached down, snapped the cord, and flung the hand at Hoat. Take this away. The sight of it offends me. After returning north, this is how Roose Bolton introduced his new wife and the fake Arya Stark to Ramsay and Theon. The Lord of the Dreadfort did not have a strong likeness to his bastard son. Though Roose had been in battles, he bore no scars. Though well past 40, he was as yet unwrinkled. There was an agelessness about him. On Roose Bolton's face, rage and joy looked much the same. Once, a boy called Theon Greyjoy had enjoyed tweaking Bolton as they sat at council with Robb Stark, mocking his soft voice and making japes about leeches. He must have been mad. This is no man to jape with. You had only to look at Bolton to know that he had more cruelty in his pinky toe than all the Freys combined. Father, Lord Ramsay knelt before his sire. Lord Roose studied him for a moment. You may rise. He turned to help 2 young women down from inside the wagon. The first was short and very fat. My new wife, Roose Bolton said. Lady Walder, this is my natural son. Kiss your stepmother's hand, Ramsay. He did, and I am sure you will recall the Lady Arya, your betrothed. The girl was slim and taller than he remembered, but that was only to be expected. Dark brown hair fell halfway down her back, and her eyes. That is not Lord Eddard's daughter. Arya had her father's eyes, the grey eyes of the Starks. A girl her age might let her hair grow long, add inches to her height, see her chest fill out, but she could not change the colour of her eyes. That's Sansa's little friend, the steward's girl. Jean, that was her name, Jean Poole. Lord Ramsay, the girl dipped down before him. That was wrong as well. The real Arya Stark would have spat into his face. I pray that I will make you a good wife and give you strong sons to follow after you. That you will, promised Ramsay, and soon. Roose's true-born son was the opposite of him and Ramsay Bolton. Roose's heir was quiet, accomplished, a talented harpist, and a legendary horseman who outraced even Lyanna Stark. This is what Roose had to say of his dead son who died just before the events of A Game of Thrones. Domeric, a quiet boy, but most accomplished. He served 4 years as Lady Dustin's page, and 3 in the Vale as a squire to Lord Redford. He played the high harp, read histories, and rode like the wind. Horses. The boy was mad for horses, Lady Dustin will tell you. Not even Lord Rickard's daughter could outrace him, and that one was half a horse herself. Redford said he showed great promise in the lists. A great jouster must be a great horseman first. He then tells Theon, Ramsay killed him. A sickness of the bowels, Maester Uthor says, but I say poison. In the Vale, Domeric had enjoyed the company of Redford's sons. He wanted a brother by his side, so he rode up the weeping water to seek my bastard out. I forbade it, but Domeric was a man grown and thought that he knew better than his father. Now his bones lie beneath the Dreadfort with the bones of his brothers, who died still in the cradle, and I am left with Ramsay. Tell me, my lord, if the kinslayer is accursed, what is a father to do when one son slays another? The Boltons are portrayed very similar to werewolf hunters as well as vampires, and this might be the reason for their ancient practice of skinning alive their enemies, who traditionally were the Starks. Roose tells Arya, "It is the wolves I mean to hurt. I can scarcely sleep at night for the howling," and then says, "It is said that direwolves once roamed the north in great packs of 100 or more, but that was long ago, and in another land." It is believed the Boltons hunted them down and skinned them alive to torture the Starks trapped inside of them. Meanwhile, Roose is believed to be an unaging vampire and is only keeping Ramsay around so he can take his identity or skin once he has grown too old and requires a new identity. However, this is a book-only theory. The North were not very loyal to the Starks, whereas in the books, Roose Bolton knows full well that the North will betray him and Ramsay at any moment of weakness, whereas in the show, most of the North choose not to fight for the Starks when the chance came. This is in stark contrast to the books, where the Northern Lords are all conspiring to betray the Boltons for Stannis, so long as he places Rickon as Lord of Winterfell afterwards. Wyman Manderley is so loyal to the Starks, he kills 3 Freys and feeds them to the Freys, Boltons, and himself so they don't suspect a thing, and he is the main architect of the Grand Northern Conspiracy. Unlike in the show, where he and all the other Northern Lords were massive disappointments and only rallied behind the Starks after the Boltons had been defeated. It's very common among the wildlings for a man to steal a woman to be his wife. When wildling men steal wildling women, they face resistance more often than not, which is some kind of courtship sport among them to see if he's strong enough to keep her. When Jon helped Qhorin kill Ygritte's band and he had her at his mercy, Jon let her live. In wildling culture, when you steal a woman, she becomes yours. Ygritte even tells Jon this. "That was a time for a man to steal a woman," Ygritte insisted. "Like the night you stole me. I never meant to steal you," he said. You did. You jumped down the mountain and killed Orrel, and before I could get my axe, you had a knife at my throat." Jon tries to disagree, but in her eyes, he had stolen her and made her his. Hodor's life was a living hell. Here is why. Imagine having your entire personality and future taken away from you, and Waldor, not Hodor, since that is his real name, which Bran took away from him, lived most of his life remembering, at least on a subconscious level, his own death as it was happening. He was basically spending his entire life waiting for the moment Bran would allow him to die, since he doesn't even have the mental faculties to end his own life before that moment. Not until Bran gives him that order to hold the door. So, either Waldar's mind compensated for this by shutting down most of his intellect and even his ability to speak, or Bran stripped that away from him so he would be the perfect test subject to practice out his warging abilities while he was still young. Bran used Waldor kind of like how the others kill and raise the dead. Wyman has a secret meeting where he tells Davos that the North will rally for Stannis so long as he places Rickon back as Lord of Winterfell. He tells Davos, "Soon I must return to the feast to toast my friends of Frey. They watch me, sir. Day and night their eyes are on me, noses sniffing for some whiff of treachery. If Stannis wonders that my letters say so little, it is because I dare not even trust my maester. My son Wendell came to the twins a guest. He ate Lord Walder's bread and salt and hung his sword upon the wall to feast with friends, and they murdered him. Murdered, I say, and may the Freys choke upon their fables. I drink with Jared, jape with Symond, promise Rhaegar the hand of my own beloved granddaughter, but never think that means I have forgotten. The North remembers, Lord Davos. The North remembers, and the Murmur's farce is almost done. My son is home." Wyman Manderley, Lord of White Harbor, is portrayed completely differently than in the show. In Game of Thrones, he is more or less a coward, whereas in the books, he is a fierce Stark loyalist who, while obedient to the Boltons, is secretly planning revenge against them, cooking Freys into pie, which the show gave to Arya. All this despite the fact it could lead to his and his family's deaths. The North actually remembers in the books. Anyway, subscribe for more.